here is the information about the Foundation for Evangelism and our 3 focus areas. Here is our website where you can see foundationforevangelism.org/resources. That's where you can find all of our webinars and PDFs and study guides and all of that good stuff. We're so thankful the Lilly Endowment has provided us a grant to make these cohorts possible. A few years back, we launched a local church grant cycle that for churches who really had discerned what they wanted to do, something new, but didn't necessarily have the financial resources to launch. What we realized were that there were a lot of churches passionate, wanting to do something, really unsure about what that something should be. So could use some training on the front end. And so we wrote a proposal to Lilly to provide a comprehensive program that included training on the front end and then some seed money to launch an initiative. And that would also provide coaching throughout and continued, I guess, co-learning with the participants as they went through. So here is our team. Terry Farmer is our grants coordinator, and we are really, again, excited and happy to have you guys interested in what we're doing. If you wouldn't mind in the chat, as I mentioned, we now work with 8 different denominations, and we have grants that have been across all 50 states. So would love for you in the chat just to let us know who you are, where you are, which denomination you represent, and the size of your congregation. And we'll gather those. I'll keep going, but please go ahead and just put that information in the chat. All right. So let me just walk you through our basic guidelines of what we're doing with the cohorts and who is eligible. So congregations must be, as I mentioned, we are a Wesleyan tradition organization. So congregations must belong to what we consider a Wesleyan tradition denomination in the United States. The United States portion is part of Lilly's requirements that we would love to be able to support congregations beyond the US, but in this particular program, you must be within the 50 states. We are trying to especially help what we call smaller congregations. And I know this is relative, but we've got kind of 2 thresholds, and we have the 2 thresholds with our local church grants as well. The first one is under 100, and we call that participating. We understand that church membership does not necessarily mean the number of active folks in the congregation. And when we mean active, I would say folks that engage at least once a month with your church. So if you are a congregation between 1 to 100, in order to participate in the cohort, we ask that you assemble a team that will go through the training together of a pastor and 4 to 6 lay leaders. You can decide who those laity are, but I recommend if you could get a cross section of folks involved with various aspects of the church, that's helpful. Why I say that is sometimes people just bring their evangelism team. And while that's great, for real success and change in congregations, we find it's really helpful if you get somebody maybe from the finance team or somebody from the trustees that's really learning together and catching this vision, so that the work isn't just reserved for those who are officially on like an evangelism team. So if you're under 100, we ask that you assemble a team with 4 to 6 laity. If you are between 100 and 250, again, in active participation, we ask that you assemble a group of 5 to 7 laity. All team members will attend every cohort session. Now, the cohort training sessions, they last about 8 weeks, And we typically offer a couple nights of the week. And we won't just assign you, we'll ask to see if you have a preference or if there's a day of the week that works better. So if you do apply and you're committed to participate, we want to try to make it work for you. But we ask for everybody to participate live. They're typically, the sessions are in the evenings because you have the ability to ask questions. The sessions will be recorded and you can bring more folks in to watch the recording, but you'll get the most out of it if you attend live. So we ask that everybody that is part of the team participate live. Following the training, and that'll happen during the first quarter of 2026, the team will then develop their program. What's their new evangelism experiment that they would like to launch? And then they will write for a grant during the summertime. The grant application then will be submitted in September, and you'll be awarded $2,500 around mid-November. That's kind of the timeline, and I actually have a slide specifically for the timeline right here. So we're doing the orientation session right now. We will open, and I'll tell you how to do this, the application to join a cohort December 1st, and that will close January 15th. The webinar training series will happen the February-March timeframe. April, May, that's when you continue to discern and pray and work together to create your experiment. You'll have the summertime to write the application, and during that time, we'll also continue to periodically check in to see if you need any help and provide some additional support and coaching. The grant money will be awarded November, and then in 27, you'll implement, and we'll continue to bring you together for learning and coaching. What you can expect. You'll meet online with folks from different parts of the US and from different denominations. That's been really fun and exciting for us, and it, I think, is unique. I don't think there are a lot of other organizations or environments where people from different denominations in different settings with different realities are coming together to learn, not only from the material being presented, but from one another. We periodically also have some seminary students who are local pastors and are in their formational years join, which is an interesting, another interesting aspect of what we're doing. It makes us a little bit different. We'll also not give you the answer of this is how you do evangelism in your context. We will start with the why of what do you want to share and what do you hope others experience? And then from there, we'll develop contextually relevant, meaningful evangelism practices. And then again, we even though the trainings are virtual, we want them to be and expect them to be participatory and interactive. So you won't just have a couple talking heads feeding you material. That we'll be learning from one another. And actually, after each session, if you have questions, we don't want to move on until we're sure that you understand the material and you're able to apply it. So that's really important to us as well. Again, what makes this different than other evangelism training that might be out there is that we consider this a partnership and we're journeying with you. And so there'll be coaching, there'll be implementation support. We also, again, provide the grant on the back end. So it's not just the training, but some seed money. Again, you'll network with and learn from others across the Wesleyan family. And one other additional thing that I think makes us unique is that we're really working hard to figure out how are we not just measuring congregational activity and busyness, but actual transformation, both within the congregation and beyond. A lot of denominational metrics focus a little more on internal activity as opposed to what is the impact that our congregation is making and what impact are the disciples that are being formed in our congregation making in the wider world. So we'll provide you additional training to rethink how you're actually measuring what you're doing. So that is a little more about that. Now, how do you apply? So we are, this is the Thriving, this is Equipping Local Church. The Thriving Congregation Cohorts will start accepting applications December 1st. It will close January 15th. We use a platform called Submittable, and I'll show you what that looks like. But this entire process from applying for the cohort to applying for the grant and actually receiving payment, all of that will happen through this Submittable platform. So you'll need to decide who on your team is going to be the designated person to create the Submittable account and work through the process. You will be able, if you want to, you can invite others to help with the application and kind of share that, but you'll need one person will need to create the account. And if you go to foundationforevangelism.org under our grant seekers, that's where you'll find the button that will take you to Submittable.
Hey, Heather.
Yes.
Can you clarify just one more time
Yeah.
the differences between the two grant cycles that we're offering? We had a question in the chat, so might be good just to clarify one more time.
Yes. So what we're talking about right now are our cohorts, which begin with training. And then you've got a period of time to discern what God is calling you to do and be based on what you learn in the training, to write for a grant and receive $2,500 seed money. This is different in an expansion of what we just called our Equipping the Local Church grants. Those were for smaller congregations who had spent time really listening to their community, discerning what their gifts and strengths were, and developing a ministry that they wanted to launch, but needed some financial help. And so that project expects the congregation to be ready to launch. They just could use some financial help. This project wants to help people that want to do something, that are passionate, but aren't exactly sure what that looks like, and would like to journey together through that discernment process. So I hope that helps to differentiate the two different options. So here is just a screenshot from our website. Right now, you can see here's the register button that you registered for this session right now, but there will be a button for you to apply to join a cohort once that goes live. On this page right now, though, there's some additional information that summarizes exactly what we've been talking about tonight or this afternoon. So you, again, continue to check that out. All right. And then just some questions to consider. These are questions you'll actually find on the grant application. Again, we don't expect, if you're asking to join, if you're interested in joining a cohort, that you know at this point what God is calling you to do as a church. But this will help us to figure out where your starting point is and what type of curriculum might be most helpful to equip your leaders. So just to think about, what are your congregation's greatest strengths? What do you have that you can share and offer to folks beyond the walls? So that includes everything from your physical building to the programs you currently offer, but who makes up your congregation? What are their experiences? What are their connections with your community? Where are they actively listening to what's going on in the lives of people? So what are your strengths? So think about that broadly. And then secondly, what are your congregation's areas for growth? What are some things that you could use some specific help discerning? Is it that you've done these certain programs for years and years, but they're no longer really connecting with the community? What are the things that you need some help with? And then thirdly, why is now the right time for your congregation to be part of this? What kind of work have you done to prime folks to be ready to say, yes, we believe God has something in store for us, and we want to discern what that is. So if you could help us understand with the work that you've kind of been doing that's led up to this, that would be great. So that's the overall broad explanation of what we're doing. This past round in the spring, we had, just so you know what this has looked like, we've had 2 nights a week. We've had 2 cohorts going, one on Tuesdays, one on Thursdays. And we've had about 10 to 12 congregations in each group that have learned together. Those weekly sessions are about 90 minutes long, just so you know what you're signing up for time-wise as well. And we finished a little over a week ago. So right now they're in the process of using the resources that they were given to start discerning what their grant might look like. We will reconvene them probably in the next couple weeks, just to make sure they don't have any questions, or to see if we can help them think through things a little more. And then beginning in January, they'll start actually writing their application for their grant. So that's the folks who are going through right now. That's what their timeline and where the stage that they're in right now. So just want to see if y'all have, if any questions emerged. Terry, are you monitoring the chat to see if there's any other questions?
Yes, there have just been a lot of questions about, again, a couple folks were asking if they've received an Equipping the Local Church grant previously, if they are eligible for this grant. I did let them know if it's the same congregation or organization, they're not eligible for the grant funding portion of this. But would you like to touch on whether or not they're able to join the cohort trainings themselves?
Okay. Yeah, I think reach out to us if you have specific questions about that. And why I say that is we know in some of the denominations, there's been some changes and maybe some disruptions or things that have evolved within the life of particular churches. So if you received a grant a couple of years ago and things have drastically changed within your congregation, just reach out to us and let us know what's going on. We have one church that we've been working with that has completely changed in a good way, but it's a different makeup than when we first awarded them the grant. And there was a lot of great potential, and they were hungry to figure out what God had in store for them. So even though they were a past grant recipient, it's a new day for them, and they needed some help kind of discerning what that might look like. So just went through the training. So again, it would be a case by case. If you're the same exact church and nothing's really changed, probably not, but just reach out to Terry or me. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was really, really the basis of the questions. Just some folks asking about the recording. If you've registered for this, yes, you will be sent the recording in an email. But I have also linked in the chat where it can be found. It will be plugged into our website as well when it becomes available. Let's see.
Did another question come in?
Yes, someone said 8 weeks of online meetings, question mark?
Yes. So just so you know, and we haven't set the spring times yet, and we know folks, we're working with folks across the country, so we're in different time zones as well. So we have been running 7 p.m. Eastern to 7 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays and Thursdays. One of our rounds, we did a Monday night session about the same time frame. So we know West Coast folks, that can be a challenge to get home from work, or there might be other family responsibilities. So again, reach out to us if you have specific questions, but that's the rough time frame we've been going with. But it would be consistent. So you're like in a Tuesday group or a Monday group, and it would be that same time each week. Anything else, Terry?
I think that's everything for right now.
Okay. Well, we know this is a lot of information, and so wanted to make sure y'all had our contact information. So if you log off or you start talking with folks in your church and more questions pop up, feel free to email either or both of us, and we will try to answer them as best as we can. And again, the application will be live and ready December 1st. If you create the submittable account, and as you get into the application, if you're unsure exactly what we're looking for in one of the questions, again, reach out to us. We are here for you. We're only doing our job if you get the information that you need to discern what the Holy Spirit is calling you and your church to be. We firmly believe, especially, that God is not done with smaller congregations. And so this is why this has been so important for us, and such a gift to see the amazing impact that and the ways communities have been transformed. We just had a board meeting where so many great stories were shared of what has happened as a result of some of our grants. So it's a joy and a privilege to be part of this work with you. Yeah. Anything else, Terry?
Yes. So somebody said we can do the cohort training and then ultimately apply for the equipping the local church grant, as long as we don't apply for the one at the end of the cohorts training.
Yes, currently that is the way things have been working. Just so you know, we typically have a lot more applicants for our equipping the local church grant cycle. So the 2,500 at the end of this cohort process is a much greater possibility of receiving just by the numbers. We have the funds ready for the $2,500 grants. The larger grants, the $5,000 or $10,000 that we've been doing for the equipping the local church, it's much more competitive. So it's kind of up to you how you want to handle it. But that is a possibility. It's just there are a lot of applicants for the number of equipping local church grants we're able to give. Yeah. Anything else?